everyone, and good evening. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to wait a minute or two to make sure that everyone is coming in from the waiting room, connecting to audio, all of that great stuff. But we're so excited that you're here with us today to learn more about the Honors College and get to meet some of our amazing panelists that we have for you today, including faculty, staff, and current students. So we're so excited for you to get to know more about the Honors College. While again, we're letting everyone kind of trickle in, having everyone come into the meeting, I just want to say hi, my name is Gabby LaRue. I am one of the Associate Directors of Admissions Counseling at the Undergraduate Admissions Office, and we're so excited that you decided to spend a little bit of your time this lovely Thursday evening with us over Zoom to learn more. It's a really special week at Baylor. You probably have experienced some sort of homecoming event at your current school, but homecoming is quite a big deal at Baylor. If you did not know that Baylor actually had the first homecoming at the collegiate level in 1909. It was recently quoted in an article published by ESPN that our president, Dr. Livingstone, shared with us last week that we do, despite different disputes, despite different arguments, we have been research to know that we had the first homecoming in 1909, featured all the elements that modern homecomings have now: bonfire, a homecoming parade, a football game. So we're so excited that that starts today with something that's called mass meeting for all of our first year students. And it's just a very special event and it's a very special weekend for us here on campus. As a student, it was my favorite weekend just to see all of the alumni come back. And now as an alumni, it's even more special to be able to celebrate Baylor every single year. And for those that aren't local to Waco, maybe can't come out and check out the homecoming festivities, quick tip, they do usually stream the homecoming parade Saturday morning, either on Facebook or Instagram. So definitely make sure you're following us on there, the main Baylor University Facebook page. That way you can check out all of the wonderful hard work that all of our students do for all of the floats and get to learn even more about Baylor by just watching the homecoming parade. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and get started. I do see a good amount of students and participants in the meeting, and so we want to start as timely as possible. So I would like to introduce to y'all the Dean of our Honors College, Dean Henry.
Well, yes, welcome. I am delighted to be with you and my colleagues this evening. So grateful for your interest in Baylor and in the Honors College. What we have in store for you is a few slides and some conversation that will give you an idea of who we are, a sort of academic community that we represent. A short panel conversation, which will enlist a few key colleagues representing programs in our Honors College to help enlarge the conversation, and some interaction with you, opportunities for you to raise some questions. And so let me say right now at the outset, if you have a question or if you hear something that I share along the way that prompts a question, please go ahead and be making a note of that, and be aware that we want you to volunteer those questions, and you can do that by engaging us via Zoom. So Katie, let's go ahead right into the presentation here. So first thing I always like to begin with is an understanding of our mission. The mission of Baylor University is to educate men and women for worldwide leadership and service by integrating academic excellence and Christian commitment within a caring community. That's the heart and soul of what Baylor is. It's an expression very aptly of the things to which we are most deeply committed in the Honors College as well. And we seek to fulfill that mission with excellence, with all the excellence that our faculty and staff and students can bring to it. I just add also that that mission, it goes far historically in our institutional history. Baylor was founded in 1845, even before Texas became a state. I'm not a Texan. I understand Texas pride, and I admire it tremendously. It's a remarkable thing that Texas was once its own country, and that's the time at which Baylor was founded with this remarkable mission, a special place in our state and indeed our nation's history. So how does that mission translate into the life of students here at Baylor? Well, Baylor is home to about 15,000 undergraduates. We enjoy specifically in these halcyon days of the autumn, 1,000 acres of natural beauty. We're nestled along the banks of the Brazos River, Los Brazos del Dios. It was called by the Spaniards when they explored this place, arms of God. And so we very much like that image that Baylor and this beautiful campus and home to so many bright students is nestled in the arms of God. The area around Waco and its suburbs are home to about 300,000 residents. It is a wonderful, medium-sized community full of just about everything that you can imagine wanting. It also happens to be on one of the nation's busiest interstate corridors, Interstate 35, halfway between Dallas to the north and Austin to the south, and so very proximate for the big city experience if you like that. Students to faculty ratio, about 15 to 1. We care about interaction with students very closely so that mentoring and teaching can be at its high point. Hundreds, literally, of on-campus clubs and organizations covering everything you can imagine. And the average class size at the university itself, about 26. Okay, so that's Baylor. The Honors College, within that context, gives students like you all the strengths of a large university. Nationally ranked, nationally ascendant R1 university. All the doors of opportunity, all the incredible assets, all the remarkable things that one can do in a university that has that sort of scope, that sort of profile. NCAA Division I athletics, which in some years is quite astonishingly good. Still so very proud of our national championship winning men's basketball team, and we are on the hunt for another championship this year. Men's basketball, women's basketball, volleyball, softball, soccer, and yes, football. We're struggling a little bit this year, but we're confident Coach Aranda has our team moving in the right direction. A lot of excitement and energy brought by our athletics programs. We're ranked in all sorts of ways: first-year student experiences and learning communities, the top 10 for undergraduate education. Baylor is importantly among the very few universities that have a chapter of Phi Beta Kappa. This is an organization, an academic society you may not know about, but let me just say it is the most prestigious, oldest, highly regarded academic honor society in the United States. And it's special that we have a chapter of that here at Baylor. Not all universities can get it. Highly ranked for undergraduate research and teaching, and you can study just about anything you want at Baylor. I sometimes say, with the caveat being something like meteorology. I happen to be from Oklahoma, center of Tornado Alley. If you want to be a meteorologist, the University of Oklahoma is a better place than Baylor. But otherwise, you name it, we're almost sure to have it. So the Honors College is nestled within the context of that large, nationally ascendant research university with all the things that we were just talking about. And yet the Honors College gives for our students the benefits of a small college experience. So Big Baylor, about 15,000 undergraduates. The Honors College, about 1,400 students, roughly 10% of the undergraduates at Baylor. And so the Honors College brings together a cadre of students who are academically able, who are academically aspiring, and who can have the benefits of something like a small, very highly capable liberal arts college experience, and yet all the doors of opportunity that the larger university offers. Within the college, within the Honors College, we prize small class sizes, often undertaken in seminar-style fashion, very interactive, very inviting for student conversation around text and around ideas led by their faculty members. We also prize for our students research opportunities, and that takes place naturally in the context of many of the courses that our students take. It also is called out in special ways through doors that we like to open for our students to do significant project-based research. Sometimes that takes place alongside faculty members, assisting them as research assistants in their own research projects. That happens in the humanities and the social sciences, and it happens in the natural sciences as well. Sometimes those research opportunities send our students beyond Baylor. Annually, every summer, we send students into research placements near and far in intensive, just to give a couple of examples, MD Anderson's summer MD Anderson's Cancer Research Center Summer Undergraduate Research Program. We've had students there annually for years. Similarly, the Fred Hutch Cancer Research Center in Seattle. We have students who do projects alongside chief medical officers of hospitals. We have students who do research work as interns in Washington, D.C. based think tanks. So all sorts of ways that we elevate research. And some of our programs do this in a special way. We'll get to that later. Lots of different ways in which you can be a student in the Honors College. You can pursue any major at Baylor and have your education elevated, enriched, enhanced by what takes place here. We do put a special emphasis upon interdisciplinarity. We want to put together the fragmented ways in which sometimes we carve up knowledge of the world and help our students appreciate the ways in which those pieces fit together. And indeed, the ways in which it's essential, it's absolutely indispensable that these pieces be put back together so that we have the kind of capacious, comprehensive, thoughtful understanding that the best leaders are capable of. And then our faculty, needs to be said, alongside our staff members, care so very deeply about our students. That care is written into our mission, and it's expressed in the kinds of close mentoring relationships that we work on with our students. The Honors College vision: to love truth, kindle faith, and cultivate virtue and friendship, study, and service to Christ and neighbor. This is the outworking of Baylor's mission within the context of our college. So, 1959 is when honors education began at Baylor. We've been doing this a long time and with incredible outcomes for our students. Over the last 20 years, over 120 distinguished scholarship winners, and I'm speaking here of post-baccalaureate scholarship winners, so Fulbright, Marshall, Truman, Churchill, all of these illustrious ways in which post-baccalaureate study is often funded in international contexts. How do students get there? Well, once you become part of the Honors College, you will find your place in at least one of 4 different programs, 2 majors and 2 programs that work with any major at Baylor that are led by our distinguished faculty. So I want to share a little bit with you about each of those 4 programs, the 2 majors first, and then the 2 programs. First, University Scholars Major. University Scholars Major was created at Baylor in 1973 in order to invite students who love a lot of different areas of study and are not yet willing to say, this is the thing, this is the major that I want to devote all my attention to, a way for them to hold together multiple areas of study. University Scholars, their major is called University Scholars. We give an invitation for them to define their pathway through that major by what we call concentrations. Those are a little bit like minors, except even more flexible. University scholars are often pre-med majors. I'd say that probably about a third of our university scholars are pre-med in some form. And they have among the very best outcomes of any students at Baylor. In fact, I can say with pride that at Baylor, which is renowned for the quality of its pre-med education, university scholars graduate with the highest MCAT scores and the highest med school acceptance rates, and similarly strong outcomes for all the other areas on to which they go. University scholars are automatically in the honors program. We'll say a few things about that in a couple of moments. And I just say for university scholars, the idea is something like a wild card major. The freedom to explore the curriculum, to do so in a way that is responsive to the variety of interests you have, and that gives you a customized, tailored, individual pathway toward your degree. So that's the first major. The second major is the Great Texts of the Western Tradition major. It's a great books major. And so if you love to read and to read across genres of literature and poetry and politics and history and philosophy and theology, and you love the idea of understanding the best which has been thought and said through the ages, as Matthew Arnold famously put it, if you want to read and understand and make sense of Homer's Odyssey and Plato's Republic and Augustine's Confessions and Aquinas' Summa and Dante's Divine Comedy and Shakespeare's plays and all the way up into the 20th century, to grapple with the James Baldwins and the Marilyn Robinsons and the Cormac McCarthys of the world. Great text program is where you can read those texts. And as the slide says, the idea is to connect knowledge and ethics and enjoyment, truth and goodness and beauty. There are pre-law, pre-med, pre-seminary, and liberal arts tracks available depending on the interest that students have. Those were the two majors. We also have two programs. These programs work with any major at Baylor, and I should say in the Honors College, in any given year, we have between 90 and 100 different majors represented. So first, the Baylor Interdisciplinary Core. It's an alternative core curriculum that takes the place of the ordinary general education requirements that students otherwise would have to complete at Baylor. It does this, it replaces that gen ed in a cohort-based model. About 180 students enter each fall as freshmen and take the curriculum in a way that explores the interdisciplinarity of knowledge, yes, but in team-taught context where a literature professor and a history professor and a theologian and a philosopher jointly teach the material, which itself is integrated so that you can make sense of how the parts and pieces fit together. I sometimes use this example. An ordinary student in the general education program at Baylor, student completing their basics, might need a literature class and sign up, let's say for Shakespeare, I mentioned just a moment ago. Great choice for literature study. That same student might also think, well, I've got to take a history course. Why not take a modern English history course, study the history, the time when Shakespeare was writing as well? That way I could put both of those things together. Well, think about it. That student is doing that a little bit haphazardly, probably the only student doing that. He or she would benefit, sure, from learning about Shakespeare and learning about modern English history. It's great, but they might not naturally be integrated in the teaching that takes place in the classroom. Neither professor would know that the student was doing both of those courses, and none of his or her classmates would have that experience as well. That's the sort of difficulty, common issue that the Baylor Interdisciplinary Core was designed to address. And it addresses it by offering a comprehensive, coherent, integrated curriculum around broad areas of study like world cultures, social world, rhetoric, examine life, and building the curriculum such that each sequential course builds upon the others. Our big courses do amazing things. Our big students do amazing things as well. Highly recommend it as a way of approaching general education at Baylor. The other program, our honors program, this is the one that began in 1959, supplements a student's degree and major, whatever they happen to be, and it does so by giving students access to honor sections of courses that they would otherwise have to take. So honor sections of Baylor's required religion courses, or an English literature course, or an introductory biology course. By being in a course alongside other bright students, there's the opportunity to have the inspiration, the role modeling of other disciplined, inquisitive students, to be challenged by one another in the iron sharpens iron sort of way. Honors program students have the benefit of that high quality education as they enter Baylor. As they work their way toward their junior and senior year, our honors program is a thesis-based program. And so exploring a research question alongside a favorite professor is an introductory step, which after a semester maybe of an independent readings course gives way to the writing of a thesis. Really proud demonstration, wonderfully celebratory occasion for students to show that they're capable of independent charting of a course, responsibility for a significant question that gives rise to that thesis project. And as I say, both the Baylor Interdisciplinary Core and Honors Program work with any major at Baylor. And then let me pass things off to my colleague Hunter, who's going to share a couple things about our Honors Residential College.
Thank you, Dean Henry. So the Honors Residential College, which by the way is newly renovated this year, we're so excited and thankful for that, is a multi-year community that fosters students' love of God, love of neighbor, and love of learning through cultivating friendship, integrated study, community service, and spiritual engagement. So essentially, it's a dorm community. There's one dorm building for the women of the HRC and one for the men. Um, and each of the students in the Honors Residential College are involved in one of the honors programs or majors. And it's just a wonderful place where students who have similar interests and similar academic backgrounds can come together and share their love of, like we said, the love of God, love of neighbor, love of learning in a community. So a few just little tidbits of information on how to pursue admission to the HRC. The first thing that you'll need to do is to enroll in one of the majors and or programs in the Honors College. And then from there, as you're going through the housing application process, you'll want to be sure to select the HRC as your first preference. It needs to be the first preference in order for you to be considered eligible to apply. So I hope that you'll at least consider it if you make Baylor as your choice. And yeah, we're so thankful to always get a wonderful crop of freshmen each year to add to our community.
Great. Thanks, Hunter. So there are all sorts of ways that we end up supporting students financially at Baylor. Most students, the vast majority, over 90% of the students who attend Baylor University have scholarship support of some sort or another. We have an important scholarship opportunity coming up. I want to make sure that those of you on tonight's session are aware of the Getterman Scholars Program. Application deadline is November 11, so this is a very timely point in the semester for you to be aware of it. It is it's a full cost of attendance scholarship, tuition, fees, room, and board, as well as support for summer study abroad, research, internship, or placement of some sort, and a summer mission or service experience as well. It is a very competitive program. We typically have around 500 applicants each year. We award the full scholarship to about 3 students, occasionally 4, but many other applicants who make their way through the program as finalists receive substantial scholarship packages as well. So that's one extraordinary way in which we support Baylor education. And again, the deadline, which requires application to Baylor, application to one of our 4 honors college programs, and application to the Getterman scholarship itself by November 11. So there's more information on the web. You see the address there. I welcome you to explore that. So there are any number of things that I have left unsaid. I'm going to introduce a couple colleagues here to help us think about and share with you some of the other really important things that you should know about. In due course, we're going to open the panel up for questions from you all. And so again, know that we welcome your own inquiries. You can post that here to Zoom, and we'll field those questions for you. But let me bring into the conversation 2 wonderful colleagues. I'm so grateful for both of them. Dr. Al Beck, who is Assistant Director of the Honors Program, and Dr. Rhonda Bond, who's Assistant Director of the Baylor Interdisciplinary Corps. Dr. Beck, Dr. Bond, thanks so much for being here. Let me, maybe to get us started, ask a question or 2 of you, and then see if we get some traction with student questions, and we can follow that where it goes. And again, students, you can put those questions here into the Q&A feature of Zoom. So first question, Dr. Beck, Dr. Bond, let me just ask, we have all sorts of extraordinary students here at Baylor in the Honors College. I'm curious if you might identify, each of you, some of the qualities that you routinely admire in the students that you get to work with. And it's a question for both of you, whoever wants to go first. Dr. Bond, why don't we let ladies go first here?
Thank you. I think one of the biggest that I never take for granted is the students' bravery. Every major that we have has its own challenges and within the curriculum. But to add on, the honors says, you know, I feel like I want to go deeper in a particular discipline. That takes a lot of bravery. And I still admire how they come out sane and ready to live into their call. But I have to acknowledge the bravery, because it's one thing to acknowledge your call. It's another thing to add on an additional challenge to make sure you're well equipped for that call. So I admire that about all of our students in the Honors College.
I love that. And that's a great way of putting things. I sometimes use the line, it's from the Bible, to whom much has been given, much more is required. But that doesn't mean it's easy. And it
Correct.
means in exercising responsibility for the gifts one has, exactly what you're describing. Bravery, and also the expression of bravery over an extended period of time, which is sometimes called fortitude. One step every day after
Yeah.
another over a long period of time. And it's great to admire that in our students.
Yeah.
Dr. Beck, what about you?
Yeah, you know, the interesting thing about the Honors College is we have every kind of student you could possibly imagine, right? We have loud ones, quiet ones, introverts, extroverts. We have people that are interested in STEM, people interested in languages and humanities. So I really think it can work for just about any kind of student. One kind of attribute I often discover among some of our students that I particularly appreciate is curiosity, the willingness to explore new topics, to learn new things about the world around them, but also about themselves as they seek out opportunities in the classroom, outside the classroom. Just having that curiosity to really engage with what's being taught to you in your honors seminar class on that big field trip. I think that can be really valuable.
Yeah, that's great. I can say year in and year out when I've had students in the classroom, that spirit of inquiry that presses a student to ask why, and not to take for granted an easy answer, but to probe more deeply. I think you're exactly right. It makes the learning experience rewarding for all sorts of students who might not have initially had that same question, but whose curiosity is prompted, is fired by what they've heard their colleagues ask about. We had a public lecture yesterday. I don't know who on this Zoom was there, but it was remarkable, the flurry of questions that our students stood up and asked of this distinguished speaker who had given a brilliant lecture. I mean, it was learned, it was inspiring, it was rich in so many ways. And they showed both of the things that you just mentioned. Dr. Bond, I mean, there's courage standing up in front of a few hundred of their peers and their teachers and voicing a question of this distinguished lecture. There's courage, there's bravery there, and also the spirit of inquiry. And this remarkably talented, nationally recognized scholar who gave the lecture could not stop bragging about our students afterwards. It's something that she has rarely seen among the groups that she's visited. So one other question, and then I know we've got some student questions coming in. Yeah, it's just this. Why do you think our prospective students should consider the Honors College at Baylor University? What are the reasons why you think Honors College education is worthwhile? So yeah, Dr. Bond, why don't we flip back to you?
Sure. You know, I think it goes back to kind of what you said before. We're here to prepare our students, and I want to dispel the myth that we're here for busy work or to make things difficult. We really are here to help our students to think not only broader but deeper, because the reality is of the things that they've been called to do in this world, and I do love the call, so you'll hear me say that a lot. We must be well equipped for that, and you can't just scratch the surface. We have lots of concerns in medicine and education and our economy, and they require more than scratching the surface. It really requires intentional thoughtfulness. And I believe that's something that we do well with our students. The reason, Dean Henry, our students could stand up at last night's lecture and ask those questions is because we've empowered them to do just that. You have the right to ask these questions, to seek more knowledge. We create that intentionally. We create those kind of environments for our students, and we give them what they need to go into their regular classrooms and do those kind of things. So that's why Honors College, we're small and we're able to give the kind of attention and the kind of knowledge and instruction and mentoring and love to our students to empower them to do what they need to do to gain what they need.
It's well said. Sign me up, Dr. Bond.
Yeah.
Dr. Beck, what about you?
Yeah, Dr. Bond, that was a great statement, right? A few things that I keyed on as you were speaking is that there's breadth and depth. I think all of the Honors College programs provide some of that. We're going to want to expand your awareness of the subject matter being taught to you, but we also want you to develop a certain expertise, particularly in the honors program with that thesis project. You have the opportunity to be mentored by a faculty member on a topic that you become the expert on. You may then become the most knowledgeable person on your thesis topic on this entire campus because you're the one engaging in that research. The other thing I noticed, a lot of times for high school students, they're kind of like asking themselves that very question, why should I do honors? And there is, in a sense, some extrinsic factors. Being in honors does provide you access to the honors residential college, certain scholarship funds. It goes on your transcript, whether you're in the BIC program or in the honors program. You get to register a little bit early if you're in the honors college, which is a nice little perk. But if the only reason you pursue an honors college education are for those extrinsic goods, you're probably not going to want to do that, and you probably won't be happy. There's an intrinsic motivation that says, I really want to maximize my undergraduate experience. I want to get the most out of these next 3 or 4 years to develop myself, not just as a scholar, but also as a human being. And I think that's really important as well.
Yes.
You've both heard, and I'm going to turn to our student assistant, Katie Turner, with some of the student questions here in a minute, but you've both heard me say before these lines. I so admire Edith Hamilton, scholar writing in the 1930s, who said, when the storm clouds gather and the bad that happens and the worst that threatens are so great as to blot out everything else from view, then we need all the strong fortresses of the spirit which have been built through the ages. And then she goes on and says, the eternal perspectives are being blotted out, and our judgment of immediate issues will go awry unless we recover them. It's not busy work we want our students to do, but deep, broad, enriching education. Sure, there are some perks to being in the Honors College, but the best reason to want to be part of the Honors College is to spend some time in those incredible fortresses of the spirit, whereby one's understanding of self and the nature of the world and its complexity and our opportunity for happiness with God is something that you leave Baylor having grappled with and are thereby prepared for better lives as leaders, as family members, as neighborhood leaders, as professionals, all the various things that are part and parcel to life. And we care about those things in the Honors College. So Katie, you've got some questions from some of our participants tonight. Fire away. We'd love to try to address some of them.
Yes, thank you, Dean Henry. So the first question we have is from Jaylee, and she asks, how does being a part of the Honors College affect freshman year experiences?
Yeah. So, Dr. Beck, I don't know if you want to tackle this one first, but one of the things I tell students, it really, you still get to go to football games, you get to, you do all the same. Our students do so much. They're in the band, they pledge, all those kind of things. The difference is probably the dedication to the time in preparation for their studies. We do remind students this is the Honors College, so it is a little bit more of a challenge. So you're going to probably spend a few more hours in the library than maybe your roommate if you don't live in HRC. So we do remind students you're going to have the same college experience as any other Baylor student, right? But your dedication to study will look different. So we are honest and upfront with our students about that.
Yeah, absolutely. You can have as deep and as rich a freshman experience as any other Baylor student. One of my favorite memories is there's a Baylor magazine that's put out, and this is many years ago, and they were featuring an article about the Bear Pit, which is the group of students that sit behind the opposing team's bench at basketball games. They're cheering loud. They're making funny faces and noises when the other team is making a free throw. And featured in this, right in the middle of that Bear Pit crew, was one of our honors program students, a guy named James Norte. If if you know James Norte, he's gone on and done some amazing things. He's a practicing lawyer. So there's that honors college student right in the midst of this raucous, rowdy, engaged athletic experience. And I think that kind of embodies what you often will find in the honors college. Again, it really, the beauty about Baylor is that you can make it just about whatever you want it to be, right? We have all the benefits of being a large institution. We have the benefits of being a small community. And so you can have a wonderful first year experience here in the Honors College.
What's up
Amazing.
next, Katie?
Next, does the pre-health track work well with any or all of the honors college options?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, it's an easy question. Yes. Say more though, Dr. Bond.
Sure. Within the honors college, actually all 4 of our opportunities even work well together. There's really not too much a student can do that wouldn't also allow them to graduate within 4 years. But for pre-health and pre-law, I think if I'm correct, Dr. Beck, correct me, those are probably 2 of our highest, and I know they're not majors, but those are 2 of the highest academic programs that we work with. Because our core competencies work well with what they are looking for the LSAT and for the MCAT. So that is something we're intentional about, those critical reasoning and thinking skills. So yes.
Yeah. And within the honors program specifically, which is where I tend to work, I can tell you about 45% of our incoming class every year is made up of pre-health students, most of those being pre-med. It's such a large part of our community that we actually have a lot of resources dedicated to serving the needs of our pre-health students. We have 2 medical doctors serving as faculty in the honors program. The very first Surgeon General of the U.S. Space Force is an honors program Baylor professor. So that's pretty cool. We have a dedicated pre-health advisor who will meet one-on-one with all of our pre-health students during the freshman, sophomore, junior year to make sure they're ready for that MCAT test. We've got connections that we've established with a number of different hospitals and other organizations to provide internship opportunities and leadership opportunities for those that are thinking about healthcare leadership and management. So absolutely, pre-health is a hand-in-glove fit for the honors program. For pre-law as well, about 25% of our incoming, 15 to 25%, depending on the year of our incoming class, are pre-law. I imagine that's even higher for the BIC because the BIC is such an excellent curriculum for pre-law.
I just add that one of the great benefits our students enjoy, no matter which of the 4 programs in the Honors College they pursue, is the cultivation of the capacity to think well, to write well, and to speak well. To be critical thinkers, to be thoughtful interpreters of what they read, to write with art, with flair, with rhetorical prowess. And those are things that whether you're going to medical school or to the corporate world or to graduate school or to law school are going to distinguish you from others. And again, we hear responsiveness from the places to which our students go. We value what we have experienced, what we have seen, what we have witnessed. Quality of your graduates in just those ways.
Amazing. Thank you. So the next question, Dr. Bond, I know you already kind of alluded to it, but are students able to do more than one honors college program, and what would that look like for their education?
Yes, a student can do be a university scholar major, have a great text minor, and be in the honors program and BIC. That's how well our programs work well together. So yes, there are a few programs that it doesn't work well, and that's just because of the nature of that particular major a student may have. Like for example, with the aviation and BIC, that doesn't work as well, but with any of our other majors, they do work very well. They complement very well together.
Yeah.
And we let students know that during the admission process. We let them know right away if they're applying to the honors college, why it wasn't working, which is why they weren't accepted into the program. That's usually one of the things.
And I'll just mention that the honors program works with every major on campus. We will make adjustments in some of our curricular requirements for students who may be pursuing music or some of the fine arts, but that will work All of our university scholars are in the honors program, so they have access to those honors classes. They'll do the thesis. University scholars have the option of pursuing secondary majors and minors. So they're doing all sorts of different things.
To that, I'd just add honors education in other universities sometimes is a one-size-fits-all kind of opportunity. We're not a one-size-fits-all honors college. There's more than one way we can be responsive to our through our two majors and two programs to what your interests are, to what you care about, to how you want to excel as a student at Baylor. And so we look at what could sound like a complexity. We look at that as an asset, as an opportunity to respond to who you are and what you care about. So if one of those four opportunities in the Honors College resonates with you, fantastic. If all four of them do, that's fantastic too. We're ready for you.
Amazing. Okay, so we have time for about 2 more questions. One student is wondering if you have any examples of Honors College specific study abroad opportunities or mission trip opportunities.
Oh, wow. So I love international study. For about a decade, I led our study abroad program in Greece and Turkey, and every summer loved taking students to walk the dusty plains of Troy, where Homer's Iliad is set, or sail the wine-dark seas of the Aegean, where Odysseus and his comrades once sailed, and all of them were lost at sea or otherwise perished, except for Odysseus. To walk in the steps of St. Paul, his second missionary journey, places like Ephesus and Pergamum, places like Athens and Corinth. And so the opportunities that I have seen for our students when they study abroad, whether it's there or it's in Korea or it's in Italy or it's in the UK, they provide our students firsthand experience of the books they've read, the topics they've explored in the classroom, and just sort of explodes, expands, enlarges their imagination in remarkable ways. The places where the works were written or set, the places where the ideas were first tried out. I love opportunities our students have for study abroad. So highly recommend it. We support it. We've got a number of scholarships that we put behind international education for our students. And no matter where you want to go in the world, we probably have a Baylor faculty member taking students there. A lot of our own Honors College faculty members take students there. The mission service opportunities, I'll just say we care about that a lot as well. It's a growth area for us, in part because it's a more accessible price point for a lot of our students. They often don't require coursework and the tuition of coursework. And so whether we're taking students into Latin America context, we have an annual HRC mission trip, or whether we're taking students overseas. There's a 2-week mission program that I lead in Athens every May, last 2 weeks of May. So whether it's part of our own hemisphere or somewhere around the world, that's an incredible opportunity for our students to put into practice the virtues, the excellences, and the knowledge that they're acquiring in the classroom.
Amazing. Okay, so for our last question, the idea of faculty closely mentoring their students has been mentioned several times. What exactly does this mentorship look like between the faculty and the students? Does the Honors College have their own set of faculty? And what sort of activities facilitate the formation of that really close relationship between faculty and students? That's kind of a lot. But
So I'll start. Yes, the Honors College has their own faculty. That's one of the great things. That's not always true for other universities. I have worked at other universities, and you'll have some faculty from different colleges that dedicate time to the Honors College, but we are very fortunate to have our very own Honors College faculty. And so that helps with making the accessibility. Their time isn't split. And so that's one of the beautiful things about that. We do a lot of intentional programming. A lot of our faculty have opened their homes to their, students and their classes to have dinners. I know in the BIC, we have field trips embedded within our world cultures courses. And so students, along with the faculty, spouses and children, we really get to know each other. And then we do programming within the regular college day. I know Next week, the BIC is doing BIC or Treat. And so we have a photo booth that's going to be set up. We have treats, faculty, as well as the students are there. And it's a time for us to have fun and not think about Socrates or, whoever, but really enjoy, a candy bar or popcorn or whatever it is, and just kind of talk through, some of their stresses. Are you eating? Are you going to the cafeteria, eating on a regular? Are you resting? Are you sleeping? So we do some really intentional things to make sure we're engaging our students. That's one of the things I love about our faculty. They really do care about students. And so Dr. Beck and I will get emails to say, hey, Katie was missing 2 days and we want to know what's going on so that we can be intentional about our outreach. We really do care about what we do. That's one of the things I love about the Christian mission of this institution. We care about you as a person. And so that's one of the things that's just so beautiful about the faculty and the staff of the Honors College.
Yeah.
Dr. Beck, anything?
I say Dr. Bond said it all. I mean, it's the opportunity to take small classes as freshmen, particularly in the BIC, but also in the honors program. That's where you get to start to engage in those conversations, to get to know professors. And honestly, you'll often find lifelong friendships developing between students and faculty as they go on and do great things.
Let me just add, Hunter mentioned this earlier about the Honors Residential College. It was just renovated. We reopened this beautiful facility in August for our students, returners, and new students. Part of the project also, though, involved moving all of our faculty. There are 40 of them. Dr. Bond was alluding to 40 within the Honors College, whose primary role is to teach Honors College students across our 4 programs. We relocated them to an adjacent building so that we have this beautiful quad. It's called Founders Mall, on either side of which our students and our faculty are gathered, precisely because we want those faculty to be present and available to support, teach, and mentor our students, both in the classroom, but also in the serendipitous coming and going, the conversations as they walk across the quad or come together in the dining hall. And so that matters to us. And I just have to underscore that matters to all of our faculty across Baylor. It's not unique to the Honors College. And one evidence of it is that we have a faculty member who lives in every single residence hall, faculty designated apartment, so that professor can be present day in and day night alongside students in the warp and woof of life and bridge the curricular in-class teaching experiences with the co-curricular and extracurricular elements of life. And so it's a special distinctive at Baylor. We care about our students. We want to be present to them. We want to support and encourage and enable and equip them. And so that mentoring is deeply, deeply rooted. And you're exactly right, Dr. Bond. It's written into our mission. And it's not a mission statement that hangs on a wall somewhere you have to go find to remind yourself of. It's a mission that we live out every day.
Amazing. Well, that was my last question. So thank you all for answering. And Dean Henry, I will turn it back to you.
Okay, so does that mean we're back to the PowerPoint slide? I think we have 1 or 2 last slides to give you a sense of follow-up steps. So if you have heard something tonight and you have interest in more information, you'll see on the Follow Us and Connect slide, Instagram and Facebook accounts. We would love for you to follow the Honors College because there are all sorts of things you'll learn about that are sort of not standard admissions or recruitment sorts of things, but give you tremendous insight into the nature of our academic community. And you've got email and web addresses and phone numbers for our 4 programs, plus the Honors Residential College. So feel free to utilize any of those resources to learn more about who we are and how you might find your place among us. And know that if you email us or call, we will be caring and responsive and helpful at every turn. And then one last thing, if you're ready to apply and haven't already, a QR code here will give you a shortcut to find the link whereby you can apply. We make it as easy as possible. There is one shared application for all 4 of our Honors College programs. You can indicate by way of a checkbox which program or programs you're interested in applying to. And knowing that you have many universities you're likely considering and lots of application essays, we try to make this as useful, maybe as self-educative as possible. You might learn something about yourself through the application process, but we also want it not to be onerous, useful for you and useful for us in figuring out how best to support you. I think that brings us to the last slide. And so is this the point, Gabby, where you come back and bring things to a conclusion?
Yes, it is. Thank you all so much. Again, I just want to thank all of our Honors College representatives. They are amazing. Fun fact, Dean Henry mentioned faculty in residence, but he was actually the faculty in residence when I lived on campus for 2 years at Brooks College. So he knows exactly what he's talking about because he was one of our faculty in residence, which is awesome. And he was amazing. But thank you all again so much for joining us this evening. Just a few reminders. They've told you a little bit throughout the process, but if you're currently a high school senior and you're interested in applying to Baylor, if you have not already started, our deadline is November 1st. So you have 8 days, no pressure. There's plenty of time. We try to make it as easy as possible, but that is next Friday. So you do want to go ahead and submit your application for that for either early decision or early action. And then in order to apply to Getterman Scholars, you do have to apply to Baylor by November 1st. So first step, apply to Baylor by November 1, and then to the Getterman Scholars Scholarship Program application by November 11th. All of that can be accessed through your Go Baylor account. And last but not least, if you've not had the opportunity to visit our campus, please do. We would love to host you on our campus for an official campus tour. You can do that at baylor.edu/visit. And throughout your reservation online, as we like to say, you can select to meet with different departments, much like the Honors College, to come see the new HRC, which is absolutely gorgeous. We're so excited for our Honors College students to have a wonderful HRC and place to live and collaborate even more so than they did before. But please come to our campus. And again, happy homecoming. If you're on campus, we'll see you soon. And we hope you have a great rest of your night. Stick 'em Bears.